Kellar, the Titan insider Terry McCormick, and producer Mark Rogers joining you for another edition of the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast on Main Street Media Television. Terry, do my eyes deceive me? Do my ears play tricks on me? The Tennessee Titans have a win.
Unbelievable, Blaine. The way it all unfolded, I'm not sure I really believe it myself. You know, the Cardinals certainly aided and abetted them. And I don't know, is liberated too strong a word for the Tennessee Titans? They were liberated from a 10-game losing streak that dated back to last Thanksgiving.
Yeah, the Cardinals of Arizona led 21-6 from the second to fourth quarters. They had some wild plays that put the Titans back into the game. Joey Sly hits a late field goal. The Titans score 16 unanswered points to take their first win of the season, 22-21. We're going to get into all of what went wrong, then went right on Sunday. But before that, let us tell you a little bit about our friends at the Mint Gaming Hall. Circus Sports, the largest sportsbook in Kentucky, is now open for business at the Mint Gaming Hall in Franklin, Kentucky. With an 80-foot sportsbook screen and stadium-style seating, the Mint's the place to be for college sports fans, pro sports fanatics, and more. The Mint and Circus Sports are proud sponsors of the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast. They are located just north of Nashville off I-65 North and exit 121. We'll be coming right back on the other side of this break, talking all about the Titans' win at Arizona.
The winning just got closer. All new sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mint Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs. Winning just got closer.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
He shoots, and he scores!
Welcome to the Omni Nashville Hotel. Urban elegance with a vintage touch. Our 800-room hotel opened up in the fall of 2013 with 746 guest rooms and 54 suites.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing weather report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
For the first time this season, the Tennessee Titans are 22-21 winners, defeating the Arizona Cardinals. Trailed 21-6 in this game, and as I was telling Terry before we got on the air this morning, I was pretty glad that I didn't have to see most of it up until the second quarter. Nashville SC had their Open Cup celebration at Geodis Park Sunday evening, which allowed me to get out of there by the second quarter in watching the game. I even told my wife as the Titans trailed 21-6, I said, I'm glad I don't have to watch this whole game, that I can just look at how the rest of this goes on ESPN or Bleacher Report or NFL Jesus. And then as I was at the celebration, I saw a dropped touchdown run by Amari DeMarcado. I saw an interception that turned into a fumble recovery for Tyler Lockett and the Titans. I saw a fourth quarter that Cam Ward resurrected for the Titans offense and for himself, and a Joey Sly field goal that all turned into a win. Terry, what a wild game it was for the first Titans win this season.
Blaine, it was incredible. I mean, like I said, I was there at State Farm Stadium yesterday in the press box and watching it unfold. And I don't think anyone would have guessed what happened and what, in the fourth quarter that propelled the Titans to this win, because for 3 quarters, they were very listless on offense. Cam Ward was 8 of 21 for 72 yards through the first 3 quarters, and the Titans had all of 115 yards of total offense. In fact, I sent out a tweet that if you go in actual game time, they went 114 minutes and 43 seconds between touchdowns, which is insane. But, let's talk a little bit about Cam Ward in the context of this. And I think we have a graphic here that will kind of explain this. Blaine, I'm not going to lie to you. I think if we're just, if we're keeping it a buck, as Cam would say, through his first 4 games and 3/4 of this game, I had started to have my doubts about Cam as a viable franchise quarterback for this team. I know it's early, very early in the process, but when you look at what he had done or had not done, I thought one of 2 things that either happened. Number one, either he was not worthy of being the number 1 overall pick, and the critics who said that the 2025 draft was a weak quarterback class were right, or he was in a position where his Titans teammates were not offering very much support in the way of playmaking to help him out. And maybe the Titans would have been better off rethinking that and signing a bridge quarterback to ease him in the same way that Cleveland's done with Dylan Gabriel, the Giants have done with Jack Stark, because those guys have come in as the season has gone on and played fairly well, much more so than Cam Ward had played. But then the fourth quarter happens yesterday, and he puts on his Superman cape and morphs into a completely different player. The Titans finally stop throwing 4-yard passes, as they've done for most of the year, and he goes down the field, makes big plays, and lo and behold, Calvin Ridley's there to rake it in and, finishes nearly doubled his season total of stats for the year. When you look at this graph that's here, that our producer Mark Rogers has produced here, these numbers are not pretty for Cam Ward. And yesterday's numbers still aren't sterling, but I think for the first time, if you're a Titans fan, for the first time since they drafted Cam Ward, you have some hope that he can justify that number 1 pick status.
Cam Ward went 13 of 18 for 193 yards in the fourth quarter alone. It's a pretty magical performance. He was 5 of 6 for 67 yards on that game-winning drive. Here's a video. We've got something of Cam Ward here talking about his first NFL win and that fourth quarter performance that led the Titans to their first win of the year.
He told us he was going to get a win, and he's going to be the most excited person in the locker room. He was. So I just think it just meant something to everybody for us to finally get a win, finally know what it feels like. But we all know we got a new team next week. We play against a very talented Raider team, and, we just got to try to go in their place and win.
What did you say to
Cam talking at the beginning there about offensive coordinator Nick Holes, I believe, Terry, about how excited he was going to be after the win. I wanted to ask you, when's the last time you have seen a Titans quarterback, struggle like Cam Ward did through the first 3 quarters, all to just turn it all around in the fourth?
Well, it happened quite often, in the Steve McNair era, during the early part of his career. He would, the Titans were a run-based offense. The offense went through Eddie George a lot. And so Steve McNair's numbers would be very pedestrian at times. But then if they were in a close game in the fourth quarter, he would seem to have a knack for being able to, lead the team down the field. I mean, one of the most notables, and even though it didn't work out in a win, was how he played on that final drive of the Super Bowl. And I think that, anytime you have a quarterback who shows himself to be a leader like that and can move you down the field, it gives the entire team confidence, I feel like. I think it gives the entire team a boost that, hey, if we do our jobs, this guy will take us there. And, I think the problem has been for the Titans in the last few years, we saw this 2 or 3 times from Will Levis over the last couple of years. There was the game in Houston which was their site of their last win before this one yesterday. There was the big Monday night comeback in Miami. But the problem was it wasn't sustained. It didn't happen often enough. And so when they drafted Cam Ward and he's not producing anything, yesterday he finally got over the hump and produced. Now, and I'm not saying he has to do this every week, because I don't think that's, the expectation. I don't think I think that's way too much to put on a rookie or any quarterback's shoulders to say, hey, go out there and be John Elway from 1987 and put the team on your back week in and week out because this roster's bad, but you're going to elevate it. Nobody's asking that. But I think what you want to see is, can Cam Ward and the Titans draw on this experience going forward so that the next time they're in this situation and they're down and need somebody to step up and make a big play, can they do it? They now have the confidence that Cam Ward is capable of this. Can they rally around him and help him get it done again?
I think it's great that the Titans, that Cam Ward has confidence probably from how this fourth quarter unfolded. But when you look at the body of work, both for Ward and the Titans in general, they're still a bad team, still poorly coached. Cam Ward has still struggled, and that graphic obviously shows how he performed through the first 4 games. It was a growing cause of concern, and I think we touched on it moments ago. Just the inaccuracy that Cam Ward kind of had in this game up until this fourth quarter, where he was able to figure things out. You mentioned the yardage through 3 quarters. His receivers didn't help him a whole lot, as has been the case throughout the year. A few drops, but there were a few balls that were just poorly placed in the passing game. And it felt like it was just going to be a repeat performance where, yes, you could say the players around Cam Ward didn't help him, but the conversation was maybe going to shift to why isn't Cam Ward looking like a number 1 overall guy?
Sure, the word regression was being kind of thrown around in the press box among myself and some of the other reporters that were there, because I don't think, up until that fourth quarter comeback, I don't think Cam Ward was making enough progress. But then all of a sudden he figures it out and the Titans kind of kick it into gear. And, now all those questions have been put on hold for a little while, because now you've seen him do something and it translated into a win. I think what you're saying about the team is certainly, has been very accurate. They like to use the word collaboration. This has been a collaborative failure for the last 2 to 3 years, from players to coaches to front office to scouting. Everything has not been good enough for this team to sustain any success. Now, I'm not saying that they're ready to make – I'm not saying Titans fans make your playoff reservations. I don't think that's going to happen with this team, because this roster is still pretty thin overall in terms of talent. But I do think it's a decent first step. And here's the other thing too, Blaine. Brian Callahan and the coaching staff maybe needed this win as much or more than Cam Ward needed it, because every week – somebody was talking about, is this the week Brian Callahan's going to get fired? Is he going to survive the season? When is the losing streak going to end? Well, some of that talk has that if it's not been put to bed, it's at least taking a nap for a week. So in terms of that, I think there's a lot of salve to go on the wounds there from this win for Brian Callahan and his coaching staff. Let's hear what he had to say about that after the game.
To see our team come through and play that way and play with that kind of resilience and that kind of effort and make the plays needed to win the game is huge for us. You know, it's just like every loss, it's still one game. You know, it's still one game, and we got a lot of games left to play. But very, very proud of our staff, very, very proud of the way that they've responded in the face of some adversity over the course of the early part of the season, and excited for what's to come. So we just keep trying to stack and keep moving forward. And you know, again, one win is one win, one loss is one loss, and we try to go out and win next week.
The Titans were staring down the barrel, Terry, of 0-5, with not a lot of hope in sight. This felt like a dig deep game, not only for Cam Ward, as we talked about with his performance in the fourth quarter, for maybe Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard after their early season and early game struggles, for the coaching staff too, for them to finally piece together something. Because yes, the players make the plays, but I think if we're going to give so much blame in the losses, maybe a little bit of credit needs to be given for how these plays are maybe dialed up in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think you probably got to tip your hat to Bo Hardegree for the game that he called, especially in the fourth quarter. If I were going to be a detractor of any kind in that regard, I would say, why didn't you dial that up in the first three quarters? Because certainly pushing the ball down the field opened things up. And yes, the Cardinals were their own worst enemy in handing the game over to the Titans, but they still had to take it, and that's what they did. I think, you know, when you're looking at this Titans offense, you know, this thing had been starved for explosive plays and starved for a win. And while it's not the prettiest of victories, you know, to a starving man, a Waffle House steak is still a steak, Blaine.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that applies, right, to specific players, to Calvin Ridley and how he performed through the first 4 weeks. Had a couple of explosive gains, as you mentioned, a few 40-yard pickups, had the 30-yard gain, just set the Titans into scoring position late. Tony Pollard scoring a touchdown. That's a Waffle House steak to somebody. I don't want to sound greedy here, so call me crazy. But the Raiders have only looked worse as the season has gone on. The Titans have now incrementally looked better because 0-4 is far worse than 1-4. Is there a chance that Brian Callahan and company can win 2 in a row?
Oh my gosh. Don't even speak of that.
I know I'm throwing out the impossible here.
I mean, 2 wins in a row on the road. I mean, Geno Smith has been very charitable this year. He's thrown 9 interceptions in 5 games. So the Titans do have a chance. The Raiders were throttled yesterday by the Colts 40-6. So I think they might, as crazy as that sounds. And let me throw this number out at you if you want your stat of the day. It's been 46 games since this team has won 2 in a row. Can they make it happen in game number 47?
Well, I'd say 2 things to that before we go to our last break. First, if they do that, maybe Brian Callahan can get rocked by the Mike Vrabel-led Patriots and still keep his job in a few weeks. If they win 2 in a row, anything's on the table for this coaching staff. But second, if they're going to be able to beat the Raiders, you're going to have to be able to stop a first-string quarterback after you weren't able – or first-string running back, I should say, after you weren't able to stop the 3rd, 4th, and 5th-string running backs for the Cardinals. Michael Carter ran pretty well. Bam Knight scored a touchdown, and DeMarcado, as we mentioned, almost had the long touchdown for Arizona. Run defense has got to be shored up against Ashton Genty and the Raiders, but let's not look too far ahead. The Tennessee Titans are winners for this week. Again, 22-21 against Arizona. When we come back, we will close out the show with our stock report, give you a few nuggets on the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast.
The winning just got closer. All new Sportsbook, the latest gaming machines, live horse racing, and more. The Mid Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
Winning just got closer.
He shoots, and he scores!
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Hi, I'm Joseph Burgoyne, Chef Tornado of the Omni Nashville Hotel. Come see us at Kitchen Notes.
Closing out the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast, a win for the Tennessee Titans with our stock report. As always, this segment and our show is brought to you by the Mint Gaming Hall. Be sure to check out Iron Steakhouse, Spring Hill Suites, and all the amenities that the Mint has to offer in Franklin, Kentucky. Horse racing too, though that's not in season. Always a fun time at the Mint in Franklin, Kentucky. Terry, kick us off. What do we got on Stock Up? It's about time for some good ones, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've touched on Cam Ward's fourth quarter, so that's an obvious one. But I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to say Calvin Ridley finally showing up. 5 catches, 131 yards, 3 explosive catches, gains of 20 or more, including 47 yards and 38 yards. And both of those helped set up Titans scores in the fourth quarter. So a big stock up to Calvin Ridley on that. And I'm also going to say a stock up to Gunnar Helm, who had a really nice catch on the 1 yard line on a perfectly thrown ball from Cam Ward. Over the shoulder catch, got both feet in bounds and out of bounds at the 1, setting up that touchdown.
We talked so much about the offense in this game and their incapability to start, then their capability in the fourth quarter. I thought the defense, got to give some credit to Denard Wilson in that defensive unit for not allowing anything for Arizona from the second quarter on. I thought for the first time this season, the Titans' defensive line, their edge rushers made an appearance in a game. I'm not going to say they broke out or they were the difference here, but players like Arden Key, Draymond Jones, Jihad Ward, those guys finally showed something. The Titans had 3 sacks, which were a season high. I know that's not much, but the fact that they were able to finally make a difference, Terry, on Kyler Murray, on the quarterback, on Arizona's offense feels like a pretty good stock up for this week.
Yeah, I mean, they had their names called for doing something other than maybe getting a penalty. So, yeah. I mean, I think that, certainly, a good day for, those guys on that edge rushing group. Arden Key with a sack, Draymond Jones, a fumble recovery. So, Jihad Ward also had a sack. And then, of course, Jeff Simmons doing his thing with another dominant performance.
Giving a stock down, still talking the defensive side here, Jalen Armour-Davis really struggled in the early parts of this game. I was more so confused as to why he was lining up with Marvin Harrison Jr., had L'Jarius Sneed on Michael Carter to start the game, and that turned into the near touchdown on the opening drive, a 44-yard pickup. Armour-Davis, the waiver claim from Baltimore, was beaten 2 more times, another big pickup from Harrison, and then he kind of got away with a little bit of a hold on Carter after he was moved to that side. Again, I saw most of the first half, had to cover the Nashville SC celebration. By the way, check that out on Main Street Nashville. But I thought Jalen Armour-Davis as a corner 2 yesterday kind of struggled, Terry.
Yeah, a little bit of a struggle. He did kind of improve as the game went on when he no longer had to cover Marvin Harrison Jr. L'Jarius Sneed handled that responsibility for much of the rest of the day. And I got to give a thumbs up to Sneed for his hustle play that, may have influenced the fumble. But Armour Davis has got to come down with the interception on that 50-50 ball that Marvin Harrison Jr. hauled in at the half-yard line. So, yes, I'm going to agree with you there. But I will give him a little bit of credit for the fact that he settled down later in the game and wasn't an issue in the second half.
Where are you at on stock downs, Terry?
Well, I'm going to have to try maybe give a somewhat slight stock down to Joey Sly because his missed extra point kind of put them in a predicament where it was still a 2-score game. Now, you can argue the merits of they should have gone for 2 there to make it a 7-point game, and I'll listen to that argument certainly because, the analytics people and the people who do all the math say a lot of times you need to go for 2 there, and if you don't get it, it's still 21-12 so that you know what you're up against. But I'm usually of the belief that you keep the game in 1-score territory for as long as you can when you're behind. So I would have kicked the extra point, but Sly missed it, but then he was able to atone for it with his first walk-off kick of his career. So stock up, stock down, a little sort of like the whole Titans team yesterday, just a roller coaster ride.
It's been a confusing couple of games for Joey Sly. I would still say that even with the game winner yesterday, he may be fighting for his job after a couple of missed kicks the 2 games prior, then the missed PAT in Arizona. You can argue with me on this one, Terry. I'm giving a little bit of a concerning stock to Chig. Had another consistent Chig-like game, 4 receptions for 48 yards. Looking more at the snap share here, Gunnar Helm had 44 snaps to Chig's 42. Thought it was really interesting to see David Martin Robinson getting some run in the tight end group as well. I don't think Gunnar Helm or DMR are ready to usurp Chig for the starting tight end role, but he has had his fair share of struggles with drops, with communicating with Cam Ward on receptions in the meaningful parts of games this season.
Yeah, he did come through in the fourth quarter with a couple of catches on those drives that helped move the chains. And I'll say this, I think part of it yesterday was the plan seemed to be to use a more heavy formation, at least in the early going, because they came out with a 6-man offensive line, putting Brandon Crenshaw Dixon in as an extra tackle to go with their 13 3 tight end package, even using Corey Levin as a fullback on several occasions. So they went with a heavy set. So I think that may be why David Martin Robinson got the nod over Chig, because he's a better blocker. But your point is still taken that they do need to see more consistency from Chig. And I'll throw it out there this way. They need to throw him the football more because he's one of the few guys they have who can make a play with the ball in his hands fairly consistently.
Get all the negative stuff out of here for once. The Titans are winners. Soak it up, Nashville. Soak it up, Titans fans. That'll do us for the Tennessee Pro Football Podcast. Be sure to catch up on Main Street Nashville and TitanInsider.com to see our coverage through the week on the Titans and the Cardinals, and the Titans and the Raiders coming up next Sunday. Thank you to the Mint for sponsoring our show. We'll see you back here next week.